way before these kids get to college. The K through 12 system, and the helicopter parenting, the things my colleague Lenore talks about, the sort of vindictive coddling of young people in schools. They think the authority figures treat them like they're in so much danger all the time. There's so much fear of mass shootings in schools, even though schools are safer than they've ever been before in human history, of kids playing by themselves in the park, even though parks are safer than ever before in human history. Students who do anything, who act out a little bit, are punished. Who bring their fishing gear to school are expelled for bringing deadly weapons. A kid who wrote a story about a dinosaur in which he shot the dinosaur, that kid was expelled. I see stories like that every day. So I think by the time these kids get to college, they've gotten the message that the world is scary, and people who do things, who test the bounds of these rules have been weeded out of the system, or there's something wrong with that. And I think a significant portion of these kids are getting to college, and now they're free. Now they can do whatever they want. But what they crave is the unnecessary, over-the-top protection that they've grown accustomed to in their previous 16 years of their lives, that they've gotten from the institutions of education. And that they're turning to administrators on campus and saying, wait a minute, I've been told that you are my parental figure. This was the kids at Yale. This is explicitly what they said to the administrator who wouldn't protect them from offensive Halloween costumes. They said, this is your job, this is your duty to make sure we don't have to deal with this. And I think that's enormously troubling for those of us who want a climate of free expression and maximum experimentation and thinking through, and exposure to even to controversial ideas is healthy, but they have been taught that it's very bad, and the authority figures, it's their job to protect them from it.
I went to school in Santa Barbara, where we were the college newspaper people. There's the student government people, and then maybe like the rock band trash people. And we all thought, these were my people, and we all thought that the worlds that we wrote about and cared about and dealt with were the most important worlds out there. But in fact, Santa Barbara's 18,000 people, and about 17,000 are just drinking pitchers of beer and playing volleyball, and they're in sororities and fraternities, have no idea what the rest of us were talking about, which is a way of saying, if you took a cross-section of a college student, and I'm not talking about weirdos like these guys here, but like if you took a bit out of the median college student and just put it in a microscope in a laboratory, would that person be a coddling, safe spacer, microaggression person, or they don't even know what this is going on?
Yeah, I don't think so at all. I think most students still want to go to college. They're interested in ideas. They like their classes. They're not set in their views. They want to hear different ideas. They're exactly what should be aspired to. So I don't think it's that most students. I don't think it's that all students are like this, or even most students. It's just this vocal minority that has always existed and now has gained institutional power. There is some evidence, though. You see studies of surveys of students' attitudes on free expression, on offensiveness, on political correctness. These surveys, it's hard to make a lot of them because people give contradictory answers when asked if they like free speech. It depends how you word it. Everybody says they like free speech, and then you say, well, what if a cartoon that offends religion? They'll say, well, not that. That's not free speech. So it's hard, actually, to see if the majority of students on net, if their views are changing over time. But I'm looking at recent surveys. I'm mildly persuaded that this is moving the needle for the majority of students a little bit, are now more worried about offending, and it's different people. It used to be, more conservative students were offended, conservative religious students were offended by things on campus, and now it's almost like they were maybe Christian students were offended by things, art making fun of Christianity, and now it's like the leftist students protecting Muslim students from being offended is actually a big thing on a lot of campuses. So I don't know that it's getting worse with most students, but certainly their attitudes, their respect for the First Amendment does seem to be decreasing a little bit, although I still think it's more, the bigger threat is these empowered minority of very, very censorious students.
Is there a backlash forming? Are students going, what the hell is wrong with you people? And so therefore, let's subscribe to Reason Magazine.
Well, I hope so, and I think it's very important for us in the room who are committed libertarians to kind of take control of this and steer it, because what I worry, I see a lot of disaffected students, non-liberal students, libertarian and conservative students who hate this repression, this environment of censorship on campus. But a not trivial number of these people are actually turning to like Donald Trump type figures because he complains about political correctness, and they're not doing it out of a affinity for his views, but because actually just saying the words Donald Trump on campus is like a anti-PC statement. It's a no, right, it is. Just writing in chalk on the ground, Donald Trump 2016 has been considered an act of violence. I'm not, no exaggeration. At my campus, the University of Michigan, there's a main square on campus where people chalk political messages all the time. And someone wrote Trump 2016 and Stop Islam. And you know, these are ideas that you might not agree with or you might not like, but they're certainly not unreasonable to discuss them or express them in a public square on a college campus. The students were so offended, they complained that there was not an emergency number they could call at the police station to have someone take care of this. They did eventually figure out that if you threw water on the chalk, it would take care of itself. But so I worry that, but this was a great, so then the students have, then the kind of students who are the anti-PC students will have, they've invited sort of pro-Trump figures and speakers to campus, and so Milo Yiannopoulos is one of them, and I appreciate what he does to make fun of the censors, and that has value, but I would rather it being done from a principled libertarian standpoint rather than just falling in with someone who is very PC in a different way. And in a right-wing way, you can't say things about police officers and so on. And there's a conservative political correctness too, and we want to be principled about it and not kind of caught up in the charlatan that is Trump.
Robbie, as I mentioned at the top of this, has been